The next one, unreadable screenshots. This is a really big peeve. And this is kind of where I want to do a little bit more of an interactive thing with you, the audience. What's wrong with this picture?
Hey, Bronwen, can you zoom in? It's hard for me to see what you're. Oh, I see. I see what you're doing.
There you go. All right. Screenshots tend to be either too much or too little. If the text in your screenshot is unreadable, your screenshot is useless. And the screenshots need to be in your report because they're providing evidence to support whatever finding you're describing. So let's talk a little bit more about common screenshot problems. Dark mode. I get a lot of pushback from testers about dark mode, and I get it. Dark mode is so much easier on the eyes when you're working, but you know what? In a report, it sucks because it makes it really hard to read what's going on in those reports. And your reports, some people actually do print these out. And okay, I'm not quite as concerned about how expensive the ink is, but I guarantee if you're in dark mode, the text is going to get degraded even worse. So yeah, don't do it. Also, if your shell or browser window is too wide or maximized, and you paste that screenshot into an 8.5 by 11 portrait page that, oh, by the way, has 1-inch margins on either side, yeah, the text is going to be way too small to be readable. Another issue, and this is specific to shell windows and also to some shell-based tools, transparency. Just don't. Because if your shell window is transparent, then what's going on behind is going to be visible and is going to be a distraction. You don't want to go there. Another problem, no callouts or highlighting. You want to use callouts and highlighting because you want to guide the reader's eye to what is important. If you don't have any callouts or highlighting in your image, basically you get what I call the wall of code effect. It's like the Matrix. You know, you got all these characters going on, but I don't know what's important. I can't tell blonde, brunette, redhead. I don't know that much if I'm a mid-level manager and I'm not a diehard hacker. Now, I have some screenshot samples that I'm going to go through, and let's take a look at what's going on. So here we have a screenshot. This is an actual this is a WordPress scam that I ran on my personal blog yesterday. What's wrong with this picture? Well, first off, I've got transparency. Second off, it's dark mode. I've got green text on a dark background. This is slightly better. I can now no longer see through the shell window to the background, so there's less distraction. I can see the content directly. All right, what about using a solarized version? This is better because it's a light background, and yeah, it's off-white, so there's still a little bit of eye relief. So for working with the shell, it's fine, but what if the reader's colorblind? This particular screenshot may be problematic for somebody who's colorblind. There isn't enough contrast between the text color and the background color for this to be truly usable. Which brings us to white background, black text. Now, here's something else. A gajillion years ago, when I first got into web development, one of the things that I became curious about was how color impacted how people reacted and responded to content on a web page. And when I did my research, one of the things that I found is that people don't just react emotionally to color schemes. The colors used in visual materials will impact the speed of recognition and comprehension of the content. Guess what? The highest rate, the fastest rate of recognition and comprehension is black text on a white background. The lowest rate is cyan, like robin's egg blue, sky blue, on a black background. Something to think about. So this particular screenshot is better than the ones before because at least the text is black on a white background. And it's going to look better when it's on a page as well. But it's missing something else. This screenshot is superior to the other one for several critical reasons. First of all, notice at the top, you can see the exact command string that I use to execute this scam. I understand it's not always practicable. You can't always include that. So there are other workarounds that we'll get to. But if at all possible, do include the actual command string in your screenshot. The other reason that this is a superior screenshot is because down here in the middle is where there's a call out saying, oh, hey, here's a specific CVE that may be a potential issue. So clean, black and white. I have a simple call out, nothing fancy. As far as the best screen capture software, there are a lot of different options available. Part of it will depend on what your host platform is. I mean, if you want to go all out, Photoshop. But if you're in a Windows system, believe it or not, you're going to use your built-in snippet tool, and you can use, Paint 3D. There's also Shutter, Flameshot. There's tons of them out there. Do a Google search, you'll find lots. Okay, let's take a look at some other horror stories. This has so much wrong with it, it's nightmarish. The shell at the top is transparent. It's also dark. I can see other shells in a web page below it. It's maximized. So if I try and drop this into a report page, then it's going to be unreadable. So this is a classic example of what not to do. This is a screenshot from Burp Suite. And this is great if you're working on an engagement, you want to see what's going on. Not so good for a screenshot to insert into a report. One, it's too wide. By the time I drop it into a portrait, 8.5 by 11 page that has 1-inch margins on either side, the text inside is going to be so tiny, I need to send an electron microscope with the report so that my reader can see what the heck I captured in that image. This is better because, yeah, it's using the light mode, but I still have a lot of the same issues. So let's take it one step further. Same exact application, same exact request and response and inspector. The only difference is that I made the window narrower and I changed the arrangement of the panes within the interface. So, for example, these buttons right here, they're your friends. This is how you change from side by side to vertically stacking. Also, you can hover over this area here and get adjust the size of the different panes. So you can do all of that. And this makes your screenshot easier to read, more useful, more relevant. And if you can add call outs to the fact that, oh, hey, there's no cores here, there's no this, or I was able to insert this, all of this stuff adds value. All of this stuff makes this screenshot more meaningful and relevant to what it is you're trying to say. So, ways to improve your screenshots. Switch to light mode before taking your screenshot. You know, when I went from black with transparent to black to solarized to white, same shell window. The only change that I made was the profile that I was using at the time. So yes, have a profile, and this is so easy to do on a Linux system. Come on, people. Set up multiple profiles. Have one that you're using while you're running the scans, while you're doing your stuff, and then you go in, you switch the profiles, and you have it a black on white. You take your screenshot, you go back, and you roll on. This is not that hard to do. You also want to make sure that your shell or browser window is narrow. It should be as narrow as practical. There's also consideration on the template you're using. Some report templates will allow you to have landscape-oriented screenshots on occasion, but generally expect that you're going to need to do portrait. Use callouts and highlighting to draw the reader's eye to the important bits. Again, you're used to reading the matrix. They're not. You want them to be able to spot, oh, heartbleed. I heard about that. Oh, I'm not vulnerable to heartbleed. Yay! Good deal. And the callouts are going to help reinforce whatever it is you're including in the narrative. There was a question about 508 compliance. I don't know fully about 508 compliance within a report, but you know what? If you do keep that in mind in your mind while you're preparing these, you might want to. It'll improve things generally. When in doubt, go tall. You want to go tall and narrow. Also, use captions with your images and make them descriptive. I'm sorry. Scan output is terse and unhelpful. But if you're saying scan output from Nmap showing whatever, you don't want to write a novel, but you want to have the caption, again, support what's in the image, the fact that this is going on, and all of that then supports the narrative. These all work together in concert. Avoid drop shadows or other special effects. You may think, ooh, cool, drop shadow. Don't go there. All it does is add a distraction. I could do an entire 3-hour masterclass just on screenshots, but we have a lot of other material to cover, so we're going to roll on. Next sin that I see a lot of is inconsistent or unprofessional formatting. You want to avoid fancy or specialized fonts. Yeah, I know, Times New Roman is boring, but it's readable. You don't want to be using a specialized font that is difficult for people to read. The other thing is you want to use styles so that you can apply fonts, shading, whatever, consistently. And it's not just the consistency, but it also means less manual work for you to do. Now, technical people tend to prefer sans serif fonts. Things like what you're seeing here. There's no embellishments, there's no serifs. No, so Arial, Calibri, Avenir, Trebuchet, those are all sans serif fonts. Business and literary people tend to prefer serif fonts, your Times, your Bookman, your Palatino. So this is part of what you want to think about when you're putting together the template that you're going to use. What you don't want to do, you don't want to use your word processor like it's a typewriter. I mean, when you're centering text, are you using the space bar to shunt things over? Or are you using the center formatting key? Are you using your headings? Please, please use headings. They're there for a reason. You also want to not only create templates, but custom styles. I recommend that you have, in addition to whatever default styles, you want to have a specific custom style for inline code or values, keys and values. And that should be something monospaced, and it should probably also have some light highlighting or a slightly gray background, so that when people are scanning through a page, any variables, any code snippets and whatnot embedded in line within a paragraph will pop out. In addition, you might want to consider having a custom style that is for code block. So each paragraph, if you apply a style, that entire paragraph can then be turned into a formatted code block that is similar to what you would see when executing it in a shell window. Some of the reasons for using styles is that it enhances consistency and the professionalism of your report appearance. And this is something that it shouldn't be, but it is. People are fickle and judgmental, and you never get a second chance at a first impression. And if you've gone through and you've manually formatted this and that and the other thing, there are going to be subtle differences all over the place. If you use a predefined style, not only will what you have in your report be more consistent, but it's easier. You don't have to think, oh, here's an image caption. All I need to do is apply a custom style. It's going to be bold. It's going to be this specific size. It's going to have this amount of spacing above and below. It's going to have these characteristics. I don't have to think about it. And then when that style needs to be changed, I go into the style definition, I modify the style, and it's cascaded throughout the entire report or throughout the entire template. And I don't have to go searching through every single instance of every single manual formatting. You're working too hard. Use your word processor. Don't use it like a typewriter. Can you tell I get a little bent about this? Yeah, okay.